Welcome everyone to the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and this has been the first wrestling podcast I've done since WrestleMania of this past year. Now, as I was saying to the guests I have on today, that I don't usually cover every single pay-per-view or event that WWE has because they have like 1 to 2 every month now. It's really hard to keep up with that, and to be honest, I don't really have that kind of time, and not every pay-per-view is going to be that ultimately important. But I figured this one would be a good one to cover because I happen to have a friend of mine who was there in attendance at this year's Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which is in St. Louis, Missouri. This guy has been a friend of mine for a couple years now. He's actually known my wife for much longer, but we've become friends through her, obviously, and I'd like to introduce him for the first time. Phoenix Report. He is a youth pastor and a musician based out of St. Louis, Missouri. Now, I guess because of that, because of his profession and of his last name, I should probably start calling him the Evangelistic Fringe, Tony Ambrose.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on, Jack.
And yes, he is no relation to Jonathan Good, aka Dean Ambrose. There's no relation there. So let's just get that out of the way. Because you are an actual Ambrose. That's just his ring name. So we kind of cleared that up. And and my next guest on this mini panel is a guy whose brother has actually been a part of my original wrestling panel. He's kind of a little bit busy, but I obviously he sent me his little brother, who I've known since he was just a young guy, and I've kind of watched him grow up a little bit. Please welcome Luke Radosevich.
How you guys doing?
Good, man. So, I was trying to get sort of a last-minute group together, and so even though it's just the three of us, we could at least talk about Money in the Bank and just kind of use this as an excuse to talk about wrestling for a little bit.
Definitely.
Tony, I definitely appreciate you reaching out to me about wanting to be a part of the show here. I know you probably found out about it through Christina, so I appreciate the interest.
Yeah, definitely, man.
So yeah, Money in the Bank. Tony, I know you were there. What was the atmosphere like there at the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis? I'm assuming you had a good time.
Definitely had a good time. It was actually my first TV or pay-per-view show since I went to a Nitro in the 90s in Atlanta. But I've been to several live events, but not to a TV show, so I don't have a lot to compare it to. But the atmosphere was great. The crowd was very into it. Definitely paid attention. They were like locked in. They weren't trying to make it about themselves, except for a couple dudes in New Day unicorn onesies in front of me.
Nice.
But yeah, there was about 4 or 5 dudes, and they had enjoyed a few beverages, so they had a good time. But for the most part, the crowd was really into it and really great, I thought.
Absolutely, and obviously St. Louis has such a rich history in wrestling, dating back to the Territory days. I think Phil Mushnick was the main promoter back in the Territory days. I wish my buddy Corey were here. He'd be able to. He's much more knowledgeable about the history of pro wrestling. He'd be able to give much more details. But as we did see later in the show, they did have a little reference to that area and some of the history, and some of the legends were there in attendance. We'll get into that a little bit. Luke, you saw did you see the pay-per-view this weekend as it happened, or did you catch it like the day after or anything?
I caught it about an hour after it happened. It was I enjoyed it, actually. It was pretty good, I thought. Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed it as well. It's definitely about what you'd expect for some of these mid-level pay-per-views, or I guess because they're on the network, can you even call them pay-per-views anymore? They're just more
special
like special events. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anyone who's like actually ordering it via pay-per-view nowadays with the way the network is, but. Yeah, but that's just how it goes. I didn't really get to see the kickoff a little bit. Did you guys? Well, I mean, Tony, obviously you were there. What were some of the matches that you remember that happened?
The only match in the kickoff was the Hype Bros versus the Colognes. And actually, the Hype Bros were really over. They got a really strong reaction. When Mojo got the hot tag, the crowd was pretty hot for it. And so I was really impressed, and they were fun. It was a fun match, warm up kind of match, but it was quite enjoyable.
That's awesome. I mean, because I didn't even realize that they were on the kickoff thing, but yeah, I guess that would be the first televised match since Zack Ryder has been back from injury.
Right, because he just came back, I think, last Tuesday night, and they set that match up real quick in a backstage segment. And so it was, not a lot of issue in the match, but it was a fun warm-up match for sure.
Gotcha. That's good to know for sure. I mean, I am a huge Zack Ryder fan for many years, so I'm definitely glad to see he's back. I really like Mojo. I think he's coming a long way, and I just think he's such a character that he's tailor-made for WWE, in my opinion. I even like what they're doing with Primo and Epico now that they're on SmackDown. They're not the shining stars anymore. They don't have that goofy gimmick. They're just kind of more serious heels. I like that.
Me too. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. And so we ended up opening with the female Money in the Bank match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And like right off the bat, we already had like a big source of controversy with the finish to that one, with James Ellsworth getting involved.
Yeah. That was something.
Yeah. Now, Luke, I know you and I were talking to our mutual buddy Sean, who I know wanted to be a part of the podcast but wasn't able to make it. Does it send like a mixed message to you that like the first ever women's Money in the Bank, the decision is directly impacted by a man? Is that?
Yeah.
Don't you think that's a little bit weird?
When I saw it, I initially thought he was just gonna throw like how he did. He raises the ladder and Becky falls off. I thought he was gonna pick Carmella up and push her like up the ladder to go get it. And I would have been fine with that, like that Carmella grabbed it. But when James grabbed it, I was like, this is kind of weak. Like I wasn't like, I definitely thought Carmella should have got it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a bit of a head scratcher there, and but I mean obviously they did that on purpose, for storyline purposes, so there could be a little controversy. Like you see why they did it, but it's like, I wonder if that was like part of the thought process going into it. We're like, how's this gonna look? Like, are we sending the wrong message here? Tony, what do you make of all that?
Yeah, I mean it is great heel heat, and that's what the guys I was sitting near were talking about. So we had a conversation about that. You know what? It's great heel heat. It turns it really gives Carmella, makes her even more hateable. And if this was the third or fourth women's Money in the Bank match, I think everybody would have been totally fine with it. I think it kind of nerfs the whole women's wrestling movement when the first women's Money in the Bank match ends with a guy holding the briefcase. I just think, again, next year, 2 years from now, it would have been just a great booking decision. But for the first one, I was really disappointed that we didn't get to see one of the ladies up there standing on the ladder with that iconic image that, WWE loves to create. We didn't get that. And so I do think it kind of nerfs the whole thing. I was disappointed by it.
Definitely. And I know, and again, as we record this, I think like the latest episode of SmackDown, it probably just finished airing. So by the time this comes out, obviously they're going to address that on TV. Yeah. So, but to your point, Tony, I think they did that specifically for storyline purposes, so that they could kind of turn that into a positive and have them like address that in the story, where it's like, the women can be like, no, this is BS. Like, like you can't do that and everything like that. Really puts a hamper on like I said, it puts sort of a black mark on the women's revolution, for lack of a better term. And but it's not. But again, it's not something that ruins it completely. But and they could use that as storyline fodder, I think.
Yeah, and since the brand split, SmackDown has done pretty good with showing their work and kind of creating storylines that we can connect to. So I guess we got to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt to see what they do with it. I was just a little annoyed in the moment, and in the building, it was quite funny because, as everybody saw Ellsworth standing there in the ring looking up, and there was a bit of a cheer, like, oh, he's going to get involved. But as soon as he actually started climbing, that cheer turned very quickly to an angry boo. It was quite the turnaround where they were like, no, look, we get that you can be involved, but the crowd did not want him anywhere near that briefcase on top of that ladder.
And it's funny, and I thought of this for a split second, like what they were going to do with it. I don't know if this occurred to any of you, but like I thought, like, man, do you think they're going to frame it like he grabs the briefcase, so like he's going to try and take a shot at the women's title, kind of like Harvey Whippleman during the 90s?
Santino, Mrs. WrestleMania?
Or like Andy Kaufman, like back in the day, where it's like they have the shtick where it's like he's trying to wrestle the girls or something, and he's like the only, because they had like Harvey Whippleman be women's champion at one point. I don't know if you guys remember that, but like that was just ridiculous.
Yeah. No, that didn't cross my mind, and I'm very glad that they haven't gone that route. That would have been even worse, I think.
Yeah, like, I mean, if they did, though, but, like, the only way to salvage that would be, like, him taking on one of the women and his butt just being kicked all over the ring, and it's just like, that's the only way you could save something like that.
Yeah. I have a question. Do you guys think that they are doing this to maybe do it again at SummerSlam, have a Money in the Bank match?
I think, and again, they may have had this by the time this comes out, but I think they were, because they were making that a storyline, because like Daniel Bryan like tweeted out about it, and
that he was going to return. Yeah, we actually thought in the building, we thought, especially as the timing went on, and they only had what we thought was 2 matches left with like 2 hours. We thought, are they going to restart it tonight? And
oh wow.
And obviously they didn't, and they put in that tag match to fill some time and some other things I'm sure we'll get to. But in the room, we actually kind of talked about that. Like maybe they'll do it, just pick it up, which they didn't. But I think they will find a way to redo it. Yeah, I think that's what they'll end up doing.
All right. Well, I know as we're recording this, it's Tuesday the 20th. So I'd seen some advertisements like online about like tonight they were going to maybe have like a rematch. And maybe they have already. I'm not sure. I haven't watched the show yet. But, you know, I'm sure that something is going to come out of it, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, some kind of fatal five-way or something.
Maybe that's the point all along. So.
Yeah, maybe.
So we moved on with Carmelo winning it to the New Day versus the Usos, which is just, it's such a great feud, obviously.
Yeah,
these two tag teams. And it seems like the combination they use the New Day is always Big E and Kofi, with Xavier on the side, which I kind of laugh. It's kind of like the Freebird rule because you have a three-man team.
Yeah, they definitely use that.
But they definitely, they lean towards that combo for sure.
Yeah, with you know Woods on the side, you know, with the trumpet and all that, which it works. Yeah. It's fine.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really love some of the mic work that like they've been doing with the Usos because it's like. The Usos, you know, haven't really been known for being talkers, but they've been doing it more and more, and they've been growing into their roles as heels a little bit more. At first, it was a little touch and go, just because it's like, man, it's like those guys are so likable. It's hard to boo them, even with the change in gimmick. But they've kind of come around on that a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, I actually I like that they finally turned them because they were getting stale. I thought they come out and scream their little song.
Oh yeah, with the haka, they would do the war dance.
And so when I saw them turn them heel, I was happy because I think they needed something new. And now they're like doing their best work they've almost ever done. I think personally with their mic skills and
they have that kind of gangsta vibe to them, and with the clothing and the music, and which is smart.
Yeah.
I think they're really doing good work right now. I agree with you guys that they're interesting for the first time in a long time. I mean, the face paint and the haka, you know, I'm sure it sold T-shirts and masks, but they weren't very interesting, and now they are, I think.
Right. Well, it kind of reminds me of their dad, Rikishi. Like, there was a point where he turned heel, and he like had different music and like a different kind of presentation to him, and which I think is a smart move for like a heel or a baby face to like almost like Hogan when he turned heel. You know, he completely changed his character, which is smart, I think. I don't think enough guys do that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing really good stuff right now.
Yeah, I mean the match was definitely pretty good. Usos definitely getting heat by just kind of walking out of the match. Like it wasn't like it's crazy. You kind of had like 2 screwy finishes in a row, which you know, I guess for a pay-per-view wasn't a great start, but you know, it is what it is.
They're saving that title change for SummerSlam, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I like how they're being called the Busos right now, so that's a lot of fun. I remember back when like the New Day were heels and like the Usos would get hurt, they used to call them like the Usows or something like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun wordplay there.
I was really impressed. You know, the New Day, while I didn't think that promo was particularly good, the little penitent to state pen joke was kind of sad to me, and the crowd wasn't really into that part. But once the match got going, the crowd eventually was really rooting for the New Day, even though the promo didn't really do what they probably wanted it to do. Right around, there was a little submission trading sequence with Kofi, and man, that got the crowd on the New Day side really strong. And so when the match ended the way it did, the crowd was really upset because of that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't really know what the deal is with the whole Uso penitentiary thing. I don't know if that's quite working, but it's kind of like Uso crazy. Like, that doesn't really make sense, even though it kind of does. But I don't know.
Yeah.
So, catchphrases aside, I thought it was a pretty good match.
It was definitely fun.
Yeah, it was.
Sure. And then we had the match that normally takes place in my dreams, Naomi versus Lana. So, yeah, that's some good stuff. That's good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just need a moment of silence for that. That's good times. No, but yeah, no, I thought, I mean, obviously Lana looked great for many reasons, but in the ring, she did pretty good. I know she's been wrestling on like NXT live events, like not even on TV, but she's been really working hard at the PC and trying to get, more in-ring experience. So, I mean, I really thought for a second that they were going to do something like where it's like she goes over in the screwy finish and wins the title right out of the gate. Like, they've done stuff like that before.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm glad they didn't, but you're right. She, I think that was one of the big questions coming in was, can Lana go at all? Like, what are we going to get from her in ring? And she was, she wasn't amazing, but definitely a good start. And I feel like there's definitely some in-ring potential for her character moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
She really she nails that finisher. She's got that like power bomb thing. She hits that well. It looks good.
I mean, like both these girls are just natural athletes. Both of them have like a dance background, and they've been able to use that and like to their advantage for sure. And so I thought that she lost, but in a way that still kept her strong. It didn't like bury her. Because it was just one of those things where it's like, man, how are they going to do this, but do it in a way where both of them look good? And I think with Carmella sort of teasing the interference, it kind of made both Naomi and Lana, it didn't really hurt either of them coming out of the match. Like, Lana lost, but not in a way that like she looked weak or like she didn't get dominated. And I thought that was really a well done way to do it.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting having Carmella come out and watch from the sideline. So often the Money in the Bank people don't come out till the match is over, but it actually makes more sense in a kind of if you're, in a kayfabe kind of way, that wouldn't you want to be close so that you can do it quick? Like that actually I thought, oh, that's actually really smart. Have her come out and sit there and watch the whole match and be ready if the opportunity arises. And she didn't, and that was okay. But again, she got some heel heat in the building.
Exactly.
And it made a lot of sense to me on that side.
And it's a smart way to just, get her some heat, because it's like, oh, she teases it, but then it's like, oh, no, I don't want to do it. I'm trying to think like who recently did that a lot, when like Ziggler used to do that a lot when he had the Money in the Bank. And I think Miz did that for a little bit at some point, where it's like he'd tease it, but then he'd take it back.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been doing that more lately.
Yeah, classic stuff.
I thought Carmella should have cashed it in, because if you saw Daniel Bryan came out and was like, hey, I'm going to have to talk about this first thing on Raw or SmackDown Tuesday, in my mind, I would have been like, I got to cash this in now. I don't know what's going to happen. They might take it away from me,
Yeah, that's a good thought.
And they were even teasing that Naomi might have been injured. I don't know if there's any truth to that. Maybe she was just selling something for the match, but
yeah.
So yeah, but that was that. I was pleasantly surprised at that one.
Yeah, and it's worth saying before we move off of that one, Lana, C.J. Perry, former Florida State Seminole, just got to throw that in there.
That's right.
Go Noles.
Yeah, well, yeah. Again, you and my wife obviously a big Seminoles fan.
Of course.
I was trying to talk to her about like Ron Simmons. I don't know if she knows who he is, but he's in the Hall of Fame there.
I don't think she knows who he is, but
no, probably not. Yeah, she definitely wouldn't know Farouk from the APA.
No.
So that's that connection didn't quite happen there. But you do what you can. So anyway, Yeah, moving on to the WWE Championship match. Man, if you could have put a gun to my head earlier this year and say, it's like, do you think Jinder Mahal is gonna be the champ at any point, let alone in a few months? Like, I don't know what I would have said. Like I would have said no, but like,
of course. Definitely would have said no.
I mean, gotta give it to him, man. Like, he really made it happen.
Yeah. And he's been good. He's been doing good work. I'm actually enjoying this title run of his, and in that kind of classic 80s foreign heel kind of way. It's working, I think.
Like, he looks like an Indiana Jones villain. Like, he really and I mean that in a great way. Like, he really embodies it. He gets like genuine heat from the crowd.
Yep.
Like, even from the smart fans. So it's like, it's brilliant. Like, what they're doing with him. I think the only reason like why people have had a hard time accepting it is because he was booked as being a jobber for so long.
Yeah, 3MB, man.
Right, and it's not his fault. It was just kind of the position he was in. But I mean, I've always liked him, honestly, because I remember like when he first debuted, like almost like, man, like he's been around for a long time, like almost like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like he's really been around for a while. I remember when he was around when like the Great Khali was wrestling. And like they were trying to develop this whole storyline where it's like he was like this rich guy from India. He was married to Kali's sister, but like he would threaten to like divorce her and like shame her publicly if like Kali didn't do what he wanted. Like I remember that was like a whole storyline they tried to get off the ground, but it just didn't. They just kind of abandoned it just because it just, I think maybe they felt it went over people's heads. But I was like, man, that's really sharp. So it's like, but like. But yeah, no, I've always like felt this guy had potential in him. Not that I thought like his in-ring work was anything like outrageously special, but like as a character, like it works. And
it does.
And they've really made him look strong. He really looks the part. He really plays it to a T. And
and his entrance is awesome. That the where the fire comes down the ramp. I don't know why. I think that's cool. I love it.
Yeah. And
part of the package.
And you can point it to like, you can blame it on, WWE, they want to try and pander to the Indian market a little bit. They're trying to expand in there. Well, it's like, well, I mean, yeah, but that doesn't mean the guy's not doing a good job though.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think he's doing a really good job. And when they introduced that, the legends that you mentioned earlier, and it leaned into that St. Louis connection. That place was the hottest the building was all night. That place was loud. Place was rocking when they introduced those legends, and when he came out, man, I said we were blown away by the volume in the room. Unfortunately, it also led the guys next to me to immediately think, yeah, he's losing because the hometown guys always lose. But that place was
unfortunately that was the case.
Right.
But, I mean, it was cool seeing those guys ringside. You had Larry the Axe Hennig. You had, like, Baron Von Raschke. I didn't even know he was still alive. You had Greg Gagne.
Yeah, Rick. Flair was there.
Yeah, Nate was there, obviously. And of course, Cowboy Bob Orton.
Sure.
Being there. And they worked him into the storyline, which was brilliant.
Yeah, unfortunately, not wearing his cast. I was disappointed. I was hoping for his cast, but
well, I mean, he did get attacked, so he might have that cast on for like the next decade. We're not sure. But yeah, I like what they've done with the Singh brothers, who of course formerly known as the Bollywood Boys. They're obviously doing great as like the heaters, like sort of like Jinder's version of J&J Security when you think about it.
That's exactly what it reminds me of.
Personally, I like Ginger a lot. When he won it was either a 6-pack challenge or a fatal 5-way that first night to qualify, and he cut that promo. I sat there because I was like, this guy won, and then I heard his promo, and I was like, wow, this guy actually has mic skills. If he gets a chance to speak, he's really good. He's calling the people stupid. He says, I can speak 5 languages. Just like, it was hilarious. So
he was like speaking Punjabi and all this other stuff, and it's like, it's kind of thing like, it's been done to death, the anti-American heel, but it's like, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work, and he does it well.
I actually, do you guys ever listen to Talk is Jericho?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, he went on there, he went on there and he said the original promo was not supposed to be like that. And Vince, 2 hours before the show, comes up to him and he's like, "You're doing this now." And he was like, "Oh man, I don't want to do that. I don't know if this is gonna work. I really like my other promo." And then he goes out there and he says, "Vince knows everything." That's what he says after.
Right? Yeah. No. Jinder actually had a really good. He had a really good podcast with Jericho, and just like he seems like a good dude. Like
he does.
He's paid his dues for a long time. He's had a lot of ups and downs, but he's been in the business for a while.
Oh,
so like he's has experience. He's also a second generation wrestler. His uncle is Gama Singh, who was like big in the Stampede, like in Calgary, worked for Stu Hart.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, like Jinder actually, I mean, well, Raj, his real name, but like he grew up in Calgary, and so it's like obviously he knew the Harts and all that, so it's so he's got sort of that lineage to him. Okay. So it definitely works in his favor. So it's it definitely explains a lot.
It does.
Another great part of that podcast is when he brings up when he heard he was getting put in the 3-man band. And they created that group the same day they created the Shield, and he was so disappointed that he was in the 3.
No.
Yeah, that's what he says. He's like, I got put in this group, and like now we're definitely not going to get over with these guys. This stable coming out.
That was one of those things. I felt so bad for those guys, like because they had to know how goofy it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like I felt so bad for him and Drew. I mean, probably not so much for Heath because like that's like his kind of deal anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just like. Man, it's like those guys just don't want to do it.
Well, Drew said he'd be back too, and Jinder said they'd be back, and they're back.
Yeah. I mean, Drew obviously had a great run, with Impact and on the Indies the last couple years, and now he's back in NXT, kind of building himself back up. So it all kind of seems to have worked out.
Another thing I wanted to bring up about that Randy Orton and Jinder match is. I just don't like Randy Orton as a babyface. He's just boring to me. I like him as a heel. He's way more vicious, and he's just better, I think. He just doesn't come off good to me as a babyface.
I agree. I will say this, though, about Orton. I think his mic skills in recent years have just improved a million times before, better than what he has been through most of his career. I think he's been getting more comfortable on the mic. I think he's been getting... become a more natural speaker. Like, it's taken some time, but he's definitely gotten there. And he's definitely been doing some good work. Like, I like the stuff he did with Bray Wyatt, how he was, like, the crazy babyface. But, like, it kind of worked out well for him. But I agree. I think he is best as a heel.
The Legend Killer.
Yeah.
That's when he was his best.
For sure. And, by the way, man, I feel bad for the Singh brothers. I should say Harvin Gurfsira is their real name, but they're now Samir and Sunil. But like man, those guys take some crazy bumps every time. Like I hope they're getting paid extra for that, because like holy crap, like they've been dropped on their necks, like on the table, like. I mean, I remember a few times like I've seen him like, oh my god, he's dead, like he just died right now.
Well, and even was it Backlash or whichever pay-per-view they had the other championship match at, where Randy dropped one of them on the announce table, and even Orton looked at the camera and made a face like, whoops, I probably shouldn't have done that quite like that.
That hurt.
He's
and then they hit the RKO through the table at this one. It was just like, oh man, yeah, those two are just, they're ragdolling, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting. Both of them in their previous gimmick, they were both in the Cruiserweight Classic last year. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, that's how they kind of got their WWE entrance. Was through the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah, like, and it's interesting because it's like they did the Bollywood Boys gimmick. I think they had meant them to be like baby faces or whatever, but like they're definitely doing the right thing now as far as like what they're doing. It's like. So I feel I'm definitely happy for those guys that they at least got the chance to have something like this.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully they'll build them up as a tag team. It would be cool to have like an Indian faction going on there. That'd be pretty cool.
It would be cool, especially with the, that would be a fun way to get those guys even more involved. If they were to actually start entering the tag team division a little bit, would be fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, they have the experience. They could definitely do it.
American Alpha's not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
I saw a little bit of SmackDown tonight. Chad Gable had like a singles match against like Kevin Owens.
Oh wow, but that was fun.
Yeah,
That's right.
so
Go back
it was
and
kind of
watch
cool how that came about. I would definitely encourage you guys to see that.
Yeah.
But so moving on, they had the tag team match. I love
Wait.
Breezango so much.
Before we move on, I wanted to mention something. Do you think?
No, go ahead.
Because still about Jinder, I think Cena comes back July 4th. Do you think Cena and Jinder are gonna have a SummerSlam match?
I mean, how could they not at this
I
point?
know, like
that,
USA versus.
I mean, you
That's
would
if
think.
they wait till they might do it on July 4th.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
just hope they don't feed him to Cena, man. I'm sick of Cena as champ.
right. Well, I mean, I don't think I don't think the feud with Jinder and Orton is done yet.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think so, especially since they got his dad involved. I think they're going to use that to kind of keep that going for at least another month or so. I think.
Yeah, I agree. That felt that way to me.
Yeah, they could still milk that for a little bit. So
I was hoping to see a Punjabi prison match versus John Cena at SummerSlam.
were you though really?
I mean, I feel like it'd be better than when it was with Great Khali.
Give it another shot.
Yeah, Batista.
Yeah, Batista and Khali. God bless him. So then we had Breezango, and God, I love these guys so much. I really do.
They're great.
Yeah,
Lord,
they're so much fun right now.
I am so glad they've been doing more stuff with them. Like, I remember when they first started teaming on SmackDown, and they would be on Talking Smack, and I was like, oh my God, these guys are hilarious. Like, they need to be doing more with those. And so they finally kind of caught up to that, and they're finally using them more on TV. I mean, I'm a little biased because I know Tyler Breeze's wife, but yeah, no, I like both those guys. So I'm glad to see that they've been doing more stuff. It's very reminds me of Edge and Christian a little bit.
Yeah, and that almost like they're just kind of goofing around, and almost like the bigwigs aren't paying close enough attention, so they get away with stuff, and it's really fun.
Right.
Did you notice when they did the thing where Breeze got attacked on their little wall of people? They had next to Sami Zayn, they had a marker that said he's generic.
Yes. They have lots of little inside jokes like that, which makes it just so much fun.
Yeah.
Like they had what do they have? They have
Billy
Fashion
Kidman.
Vice. Billy Kidman on there. Like, who has talked about Billy Kidman on WWE TV?
Yeah.
In the longest time. They had Paulie's big cell phone.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And then they used an actual VHS tape on the
It was great.
in the backstage part on Sunday night, which was amazing.
They had a picture of Dusty Rhodes as fashion icon or something like that. Just
there's
stuff
so
like
much.
that. I love it.
Those guys are so much fun right now, and I was a little disappointed in the actual match because they didn't get to show any of that personality. It was just the total. I don't know. It was a cool down match. I get it, but I thought even if this is going to be a short match, let's at least make it a little fun. But it wasn't even that. It was just a boring 5-minute match with the Ascension, who have no heat and nobody cares.
I know, and it's a shame because those guys were just so dominant in NXT years ago.
Yeah, and they were
just monsters.
And the crowd loved them there.
Ever since they got up to the main roster for the last couple, they've just been jobbing hard.
Yeah.
And but I mean, I'm glad for them. I'm glad they're on the pay-per-view. I'm glad they're kind of back in the conversation now. So hopefully, even though they lost, hopefully maybe this leads to more of them. So so you never know. I mean, losing isn't always the worst thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're on the, again, like we mentioned, American Alpha was nowhere to be found. At least they got on the show, Yeah. So.
And as long as you're getting a reaction, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So they finally had the Money in the Bank contract for the men, and man, just some of the spots they had in there, especially the ones that Sami Zayn was involved with. Oh man, it was uncomfortable to watch sometimes. There was that sunset flip power bomb he did to Ziggler.
Yep.
There was that. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. What was that?
The one where he dropped Owens on his head on the apron.
Oh my God! I mean, ironically, that had nothing to do with the ladder.
No,
and
it was
that
just
was
painful.
The craziest spot, and just dropped him on the apron. Wow.
Which when you think about it, is an interesting callback even to their NXT feud where Owens was using the apron power bomb.
Yeah.
Like the use of the apron between those two has a pretty significant history for the people that, that are really into that going back that far. And so that was really cool. But yeah, man, Owens and Sami Zayn, even though they weren't really involved in the finish at all, those two were like the MVPs of that match because they just were killing themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just so much of those things. As a longtime fan, some of those spots, as great as they are, they just make me so nervous because like I don't want to see these guys get hurt or shorten their careers. It's like stuff like this is the reason why Edge had to retire at 40, why Daniel Bryan is retiring now at 34. Like, I was like, guys, be careful, slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, it was scary, and I don't know what it looked like on TV. I haven't gone back and watched it on the network or anything, but in the room, man, those spots were huge and scary even for us. So I can imagine it looked even better on TV.
For sure. And I mean, obviously, I was really hoping that Sammy would have won it, but I wasn't overly surprised that Baron won it.
No.
Yeah, usually the heels get the Money in the Bank contracts.
Which, I mean, that guy has just been on fire. Like, for not like really even having a wrestling background, or I don't even know if he was even a fan of wrestling growing up. He's just, you could tell the guy has worked really hard and just is a natural heel on the mic.
And that end of days finisher is one of the best.
He's had and he's had so much time on Talking Smack, and it's just he's believable as just a cocky heel. Like it's like you really want to boo this guy, like just the way he talks about people, because like there's some of it like is like kind of rooted in like truth, or at least how people perceive him, and he's just using that to his advantage, and he's just that natural cocky jock that everyone loves to hate.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Luke.
I was going to say the best part of that match was Styles and Nakamura when they put the ladder to the side to fight each other. It was cool.
Yeah, and some of the, I mean, obviously, like that one spot where AJ was hanging off like the rope or something. That was
that moment where they were standing there holding the ladder. That was one of the, like, even watching it at the time, I felt like that is a capital M moment. Like that was a thing that was huge. And the crowd in the room was so pumped up for that moment. When they put that aside, there was a pop that we were so excited to get this little mini match within the match.
Yeah.
That we hadn't seen any interaction between those two. It was so cool, and they came out of it looking incredible. And Baron, I think from a booking perspective, he makes the most sense. He's a heel. And of the heels in the match, he's kind of the one who needs a little extra something. It'll make him all the more entertaining and compelling to add that to his character, which, as you said, has been getting a lot better. He's doing much better. And so I think this is only going to add a nice dimension to it.
For sure. So even Nakamura, who didn't have a ton of time in the match, I thought he came out looking pretty well. I mean, he got jumped from behind. He wasn't really made to look weak necessarily. He was just, he was jumped, but he still managed to get a lot of his stuff in. Yep.
Came out and hit the knee on everybody, I think, just about, and got his little mini match in with AJ. And I don't think anybody came out looking bad. I think they all, came out stronger. I mean, Ziggler is Ziggler at this point. I don't know that we're going to get much more from him, but I thought the other five guys all came out looking better than when they came in.
Yeah, I mean, Ziggler is, he's a workhorse. He has a proven track record, so he's always going to deliver. He's very consistent in the ring.
Definitely.
And, you can't take that away from him.
Oh, yeah.
So that was your impression of Money in the Bank. I give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good pay-per-view. Was it anything earth-shattering? Not really, but we did maybe see the start of something with Carmella and Baron, and which was the whole point, is to give these new guys opportunities, and you had the debut of Lana in the ring, so, a lot of stuff was happening.
Yeah, some stuff to look forward to. Let me mention, before we get off the show, the Mike and Maria Kanellis thing. Did you guys see that? Did you watch that?
That's right. Now, Mike and now those two, obviously, I'm sure a lot of longtime fans remember Maria from years ago. For those of you guys who don't, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mike Bennett, who is her husband. He's been on the indie circuit for a long time, and obviously, since Maria has been gone, she has she has worked so hard. She's been in Ring of Honor, New Japan, and Impact, and she has stepped her game up. So incredibly well. I think most of the crop of divas that she originally came in with were like from the Diva Search.
Okay.
And they were just models and just, kind of they were in wrestling, but they weren't really like that into it. She has like really proven that she cares a lot, and she's just been, a total 180 from her original character from years ago. She's just, her heel work, especially in Impact, I've paid attention to what she did there. She is just such a natural on the mic, and she's just an amazing performer all around.
Okay.
And I'm glad to see her back. And her husband, Mike Bennett, has been an indie guy for years. So I'm glad that he's finally starting to get a shot at WWE. I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
So I missed her era in the WWE. It's only the last about 5 years I've kind of really gotten back into watching regularly. So I missed that era. And so when they showed up, the crowd was kind of like, oh, we recognize her. That's cool. She got a pretty decent pop. But I wasn't their promo didn't impress me. It was just kind of a weird. Everybody in the room, and again, it probably came off better on TV than it did in the building. But we were all mostly confused by it, to be honest with you. That was kind of the atmosphere. It was like, oh, okay, that happened, I guess. What's that mean? And so I'm curious to see where it goes, because it could be good. It also came off a little bit like Miz and Maurice light. But
yes. I was actually going to address that, and I occasionally listen to Taz's show on. Taz has his own radio show now, and he was talking about it, and he's like, he didn't like it only because it's like basically the identical gimmick to Miz and Maurice.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you guys saw Raw last night, but it looks like that might be coming to a close in favor of Maurice coming off TV, and then Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel being part of Miz's entourage now. They might be starting a new thing with that.
That could actually be really fun.
So maybe that might offset that whole criticism. I don't know. But
yeah, finally Curtis Axel gets some TV time, man.
I know, right?
Right?
Jeez.
His dad got more TV time last night than he has in months.
Or his grandfather.
Or grandfather, I'm sorry. His grandfather.
It's sad, man.
Yeah.
It's sad. Same with Bo Dallas, man. He should be in the Wyatt family or something.
Well, yeah, I think he has a little bit of a connection to the Wyatt family.
Yeah, right?
What could that be?
Yeah.
And he's growing out that beard. That's what made me think, like, he might join them, because that beard's long now.
Right. I did see a picture. Yeah, I saw something with that from Raw.
Yeah, yeah. Man, by the way, Bray Wyatt is going through, like, a nasty divorce right now.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard that. I've read that.
Yeah, he got busted. He was cheating with JoJo, the ring announcer, and he's got like a wife and 2 kids.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I'm sick about how they treat him, man.
I think the Buzzards might be following Bray in his personal life, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, he keeps taking losses, man. I feel bad.
Yeah, well, he's just another guy though. He's so good. It's just like he's kind of bulletproof at this point. I think, in my opinion.
It seems like it. Certainly with the live crowds he is. He still seems to get a lot of reaction from the crowds. So
I just hate how he cuts a promo and says he's a god, and then he loses.
Every time.
No, it's
every time.
That's more of a booking problem than anything else. But you could say that about a lot of guys. But what was I going to say about Mike and Maria? I thought it was clever how they had like him take her last name, and even like JBL had like the perfect reaction to that on commentary.
Oh, what did he say?
You probably didn't hear it.
No.
But they cut to the 3 announcers looking confused, and they're like, "Oh, Maria's back." And the only thing JBL says is like, "Oh, so he took her last name." Like, that's all you need to know. And
that is funny.
That made me laugh out loud. I'm like, that's perfect. That is like the perfect reaction to it. It's like, yeah, that's hilarious.
Speaking about JBL, I love how now Mauro Ranallo actually is going to be the guy commentating the McGregor-Mayweather fight.
Yeah.
It's so good for him,
Interesting
man.
turn of events there, yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks what happened to Mauro. I really miss him. I really wish he stuck around, but...
Yeah, he was the best commentator.
He really was. I mean, he was like, he reminded me of like Joey Styles and JR, where he's so unique and just, nothing against Tom Phillips, but he just had, he was such a character in and of himself. He made it that much better.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But
yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting with the Mike and Maria thing that it's just like out of all places to go, like not even in a run in NXT, they're just going right to the middle of a pay-per-view.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell you what, their theme song might end up being awesome. Like that kind of cheesy, 80s rock ballad was actually quite entertaining. And I think if they take this gimmick right, that theme song could really be a huge asset in the way that Glorious is for Bobby Roode, or Shinsuke's thing. Just the theme song becoming so paired with them that it could be huge. It was great.
Maybe. Well, I'll have to listen to it a few more times. I'll have to see what happens with that. But yeah, man, thank you guys for doing this with me. It's I'm glad we could kind of cover it. You, Tony, I mean, especially with you being there live to check it out. It's kind of cool that you finally got to see like a televised thing after all these years. So it's there's nothing quite like being there live. I will say that.
Definitely, it was great, and appreciate you letting me come on and talk about it a little bit.
Absolutely, man. And where can people find you on social media? Is there anything you want to promote, with your ministry or anything like that?
If you care to follow me on Twitter for random observations about life and church and wrestling, at Tony W. Ambrose on Twitter. That's the best place to find me.
Very cool, very cool. And Luke, do you have anything you want to promote at this time, or?
No social media for me.
Gotcha. Well, you're probably smarter than both of us. Really. You're not missing that much.
Probably.
So, anyways, that was great. What did you guys listening? What did you think of Money in the Bank, and what do you think of what's going on with WWE now? Let us know. You could tweet me at JackXConnor. That's JackXConnor. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/JackConnorMusic. And definitely like and subscribe here on YouTube or iTunes or wherever you're listening to this. Go back and listen to all the other episodes. I have a full playlist of wrestling episodes. I also do movie reviews, and mainly my one-on-one interviews are music related. But we get a lot of different guests here, so it's so definitely subscribe and keep posted. Definitely want to thank Tony and Luke for coming on, and so thanks for listening to the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and as a great man once said, don't forget to kick out at 2. Bye. Hey guys, I just wanted to add a quick thing. Right here is when the show, quote-unquote, officially ended, but I still let the recorder run as Tony and Luke and I had a few other things we wanted to talk about, so I'm just going to keep that here because I thought it was pretty good stuff, so enjoy. So there you go. Thank you guys for doing this. I think we got a podcast here.
Yeah, that was awesome. I got one more question for you guys. Do you guys think the Hardys are going to be broken, or what's up with that, you think?
That depends on what is going to go on legally with, there's a lawsuit going on with Impact, people there trying to, sue and claim ownership.
I see Rebby's talking about it and stuff, but I'm like, I wonder if, it's going to be after SummerSlam, maybe at SummerSlam or something.
My worry is that if this lawsuit stuff takes
too long,
a lot longer, the moment would be lost. You know what I mean? And they'll try it, but it'll be too late, and it just won't have the impact, pardon the pun, that it would have had they been able to do it sooner.
They've been teasing it for a while. I know Matt, obviously, you can tell he wants to do it.
Oh, he wants to do it so bad.
He really does.
He goes in out of Matitude, and then he goes to Broken Hardy, then he deletes and everything.
Yeah, he definitely throws little nods to it, and they've kind of addressed it they recently had an interview with Corey Graves where they talked about it.
Yeah, on the network.
They just kind of said, it was well, until the lawsuit's done, we can't really talk about it. So. And
are they not allowed to say the word delete? Because they don't ever say it.
Well, I mean, Matt says it. It's,
not on the mic, though, he doesn't say it.
Remember that? It's I mean, they can't copyright the word delete. That could mean,
I know,
legally,
right?
It's not really much they can do about that.
So I feel like they would be saying that more often, we're going to delete you, we're going to delete you, Sheamus, but they never say it. That's why I'm just maybe they're just trying to wait till...
They've got to wait for the legal stuff shakes out, I think.
Yeah, like I said, that's going to depend on a few different things. One, the legal situation, obviously, that's first and foremost. Second, how they were going to promote it, present it to creative in a way that Vince understands it and gets on board with it. Because if Vince isn't for it, then it's not going to happen.
That's good.
Yeah, of course.
That's just how it works. There, if Vince and Kevin Dunn aren't convinced, then it's not going to happen. And third, they also want to do it in a way where, and I think they would be smart to do this, to not assume that people have watched Impact.
Oh yeah.
They need to reintroduce that into WWE continuity.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they got to start from the bottom for sure.
Yeah, because
yes, a lot of people know it and they've seen the final deletion and all that, but it's like WWE is not going to acknowledge Impact. That's just not going to happen. Not. They don't own the footage to the final deletion, so they can't air that on the network.
Yeah.
So it's useless to do that anyway. You're just giving the competition promotion. So they would need to do it in a way that's building toward a story and having it make sense in the current, WWE continuity. I thought almost they were going to mention it even when they came back, and I was waiting for someone to be like, hey, does Matt seem a little different to you guys? Just tease at it, but they haven't done that yet. And
they say break and broken sometimes, but
they did when they came out of WrestleMania, because obviously just getting caught up in the moment.
Well, last week Jeff Hardy was like, "We're gonna break Sheamus and Cesaro," so that was a little thing that people were thinking that they're trying to be broken and all this.
Yeah.
But I remember when Jeff hits that. It wasn't a swanton bomb off the cage, but it was that flip. I don't know. But he lands on them, and he pretty much took himself out of the match, and Matt had to try to drag him out. People were thinking that Matt was gonna come out and say his spot monkey addiction and all this stuff. And try
right.
I was listening to some other guy
between the brothers.
Yeah. Which I would want to see that.
It's every time we see Matt take a big bump, it's everyone's like, oh, is he going to do it?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Is this going to be what catapults the broken condition?
Yeah, and I love the Hardys, but it's kind of like a nostalgic act almost. I want them to win the championship again because the tag team division on Raw is just horrendous. But
sure. I like that they put over Sheamus and Cesaro.
Yeah,
and
they're pretty boss.
I don't like that they broke up Enzo and Cass, although...
what's up with that? That was kind of...
Although, I got to say, though, the way they did it was really well done. That segment was just... Oh. It was... that was about as good as a heel turn, or as you can get, since Martin, Shawn and Marty.
But
it reminded me of that.
Who are their babyface teams other than Hardy?
Not many of them.
I was going to say, do they have any others?
I don't know.
If Enzo and Cass are, and the New Day are on SmackDown.
And then Hardys are eventually going to be broken up. They're going to go on a singles run.
Oh, yeah, eventually they're going to do that. So
they're going to bring up, DIY's not together anymore, so what are they going to do?
Well, they're just hurt, I think. Oh, no, DIY, I'm sorry. Yeah, they're broken up. That's weird.
That's the craziest thing, by the way. DIY, they split up as both are injured.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's ever been done. That's crazy how they... but both guys got injured.
They're treating the Bullet Club like shit or crap, but it's just
Ambrose and Anderson. I would say turn them babyface.
Yeah, I know, right?
Have you guys ever heard the Talking Shop podcast that Luke Gallows does? That guy, he is so funny.
I've heard him on Jericho, and he's hilarious.
He is a riot. This dude.
The stuff they did with the Southpaw regional wrestling stuff, that was hysterical too.
Oh yeah. Well, that was a character that he would do for years.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Sex Ferguson.
Yeah.
They call it Tex Ferguson now. And just a parody of all the old scumbag veterans and everything. It was great. He's so hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to turn them. That may be the next babyface team because like you say, Luke, they don't really have any.
Pair them up with Finn or something like that. It's just it writes itself.
Yeah, or maybe this would be a lame team, but Titus O'Neil and they don't even use what's his name? I'm blanking out.
Apollo Crews.
What's his name?
Apollo Crews.
Yeah, they don't even use him. Why don't they make them a tag team? I know they used them.
They've been tagging up, but I don't know if they're going to be heels or baby faces or what. But screw it, turn them babyface. Why not?
Or maybe put back the primetime players, try to get them a little push. But
I think Darren's injured again. But
he is. Remember that
guy's.
make
Had
Darren
bad
go
luck
great
with
again.
injuries, man.
Man, like that. Yeah, that guy cannot catch a break. But I mean, I always thought Darren and Titus did their best work together.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But anyways, I'm gonna get going, you guys. Thank you for doing this. I'll try and get this out soon whenever I can, and I'll let you both know, of course.
Yeah,
All
definitely,
right.
dude. Appreciate it.
Talk
All
to
right,
you
thanks,
soon.
guys. Have a good night.
See you guys.
See ya.